Everton, and for West Ham with 10 men against Chelsea, and also with 10 we've just watched Arsenal get over the line 1-0 against Crystal Palace. I'm delighted to report we are still waiting for our first 0-0, thankfully, in the Premier League this season. Much more from Selhurst Park, all the reaction to come to that big win for Arsenal, more from Michael and from Ray as well, so stay with us. 2 wins out of 2 for Arsenal. Only 3 teams have a 100% record. Manchester City, Brighton and Arsenal, courtesy of the penalty from Martin Ødegaard, the skipper, on the spot to make absolutely sure, even with 10 men, they've done it. Quick one on the penalty, though. That was really interesting because Saka's taken 5 of Arsenal's last 6 penalties in the last 2 years, and Ødegaard's not taken any for Arsenal.
I'm amazed by that. I mean, I was at pre-season, missed one in pre-season, and maybe just thought, well, you know, let Martin Ødegaard take it. And you can see Sam Johnson, though.
Caught him out, didn't
He
they?
Baffled, because now he's looking at the goalkeeper coach, I should imagine, because they talk through certain players who take penalties, and some players always put it in the same position. But Ødegaard obviously was very cool and calm and just slotted it in that corner. So, interesting. But David Seaman always said to me back in the day, always used to look at their run-ups, the way they're running up to the ball. But obviously, Ødegaard looked like he was going to go that Sam Johnson way he went. But because sometimes when you open your body up like he did, you can sometimes get them wrong. But he got that totally right, and a good call penalty in the end. OK,
Dermot Gallagher, come in and help us, because we need to ask, first of all, about Thomas Partey's role in that. Is it a foul, first of all, by Thomas Partey on Lerma?
I think not, Steve. I think he's there to block. We get that. But if you see it sideways on, you see how Lerma goes down, you would say that the fall is not commensurate with what happens. You know, he's got a little touch off Lerma. We see all the time defenders reach for attackers, attackers reach for defenders. I would say that doesn't marry up there. Going back to the offside, if he's in offside position, that's not an offence in itself. He hasn't taken part in play because he hasn't touched the ball. And he hasn't moved towards the ball. The ball quite clearly goes to Nketiah, who you can see is well away from Partey. You know, you see the ball now, it travels well away. So he takes no part in that move for an offside offence. VAR looks at it, checks, is it a penalty? Yes, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Checks to see if Partey has committed a foul, says no. Checks to see whether it's offside, he doesn't take part in that move, so the penalty's awarded.
Dermot, you say he's not interfering there being offside, but he is interfering with an opponent, isn't he? Does that come into the equation?
Well, it's difficult to say, Michael, because interfering with an opponent, is he challenged for the ball to stop the opponent getting to the ball? Well, you look at that, I would think Lerma will be very hard-pressed to get to that ball. So there's all kinds of them things come into play.
Be better of it in front of goal, but have been unable to find a way through. Palace, of course, yet to concede a goal this season. That's how close Arsenal and Eddie Nketiah was. Ultimately, Palace and Arsenal, in fact, just one shot on target from each side. 68% possession for Arsenal, as you can see. Twice as many completed passes as well. But the most important stat is that we are yet to have a goal. What have you made of it, Ray?
Well, certainly we thought it'd be competitive. You know, Palace being at home, they're very solid in that midfield, and the defence know exactly what they're doing under Roy Hodgson. And Arsenal, just too many little passes for me. It's just, you know, get out your feet and switch play a little bit more, because, as you can see, the defenders are really pushing across. If you look at Ward's position, he's right in alongside the centre-halves, which gives Martinelli a lot of space. So I think it's just seeing that and quickly changing play. You know, if you're on that right-hand side, when it's a lot of bodies there, if you can get out your feet and diagonal ball to Martinelli, it could be on a 1v1, which he's very... No right-back wants him running it on a 1v1, but I thought it'd be a tight game, and Arsenal just needs that opener now.
Arsenal had the better of it in front of goal. Let's have a look at Eddie Nketiah.
Yeah.
Could he have done any more in these 2 instances from a finisher's point of view?
I think it'd be harsh to say so. I know people will look at it and think he's had a couple of big chances. I think he did virtually everything right there. He's under a lot of pressure. His first touch is brilliant. It's direct. He sprints clear. But he's under pressure. He's got a man sort of holding him. I think it's Mitchell. And he does everything right. And if you look at the goalkeeper's foot here, he virtually Gims, I mean, the goalkeeper probably would have saved it if it was the other side of the post. Maybe he could have lifted it, but when you've got someone on your back, it's very difficult to do that. Just lift it maybe a foot off the ground. On this one, he's just so close to the goalkeeper. It's not really a dink finish. He's too close. The only thing, I think maybe, Ray, is just to prod it between his legs. But I'm probably thinking that. I don't think he can score. He's just too close.
He's done some great runs, to be fair to him, Nketiah. But there, you look at it there, you either hit it probably a little bit earlier, but you can see what he's trying to do. But his legs
his legs open.
Yeah.
The goalkeeper's legs open.
Maybe just prod it through. Or you might have been out to square it. Havertz was in the box.
Yeah.
Maybe that could have been a part.
But did you see his eyes there when he actually took the first touch? He was looking across. So I think that his first thought was, can I square this? Just have a look here. He's looking across here when he first picks the ball. See him? He's looking. And then he decides, I'm not sure whether anything's on. And then I think by that time, he's just a little bit too close. But the legs are open slightly. It might be a little toe poke finish between the legs, Steve.
Interesting. Arsenal's one effort on target came from the skipper. Sam Johnston equal to it.
Yeah, you expect him to save that, if I'm being honest. It's a great effort. Needs a corner. He's straight down the throat of Sam Johnson, which you expect him to save. But Odegaard's got it in his locker. You know, he can drag out his feet, and he's a great strike. But it's just, you know, you expect your goalkeeper to make that sort of save and go out for a corner. A little bit wider, might have had a chance. But we saw Saka do that last week against Forest. But that was straight down the middle. But, yeah, one shot on target, which is a little bit worrying for Arteta's point of view. You need a few more opportunities. But as you can see here, this is where the space is at the moment, Martinelli.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, Andros Townsend said in commentary that Roy Hodgson teams like to squeeze across the pitch and really put numbers onto one side of the pitch. And subsequently, as Ray's just said, Martinelli's had a lot of space on this left-hand side. And if Arsenal can switch a little bit quicker, here's the example, Ray, really, of Ward there going in. He's actually getting almost past the near post there at one stage and leaving Martinelli in acres of space. And you see the frustration, not just on this occasion, but once or twice later in the half as well for Martinelli. He knows that he's on here, he just needs to get the ball quicker.
Well, that's what we said about switching the player a little bit quicker, because when Ward is tucked in, you can get out your feet and, you know, that 30-40 diagonal ball, then he's 1v1, which is a very dangerous player. But I'm sure Mikel Arteta must have spotted that they really are tight as a back four, which they have to be. They're a little bit worried about down the middle as well, the guard and people like that. So Martinelli could be the one in the second half.
Yeah, and I think this just goes to show as well, Steve, in terms of how much they dominate down that right-hand side. They attack a lot down Saka's side, 52% down that right-hand side. And Martinelli will probably be looking at those stats thinking, yes, see, if you can just even it out, I might be able to get more chances here.
Very interesting. We shall see in the second half. So far, that plan of Roy Hodgson's for Crystal Palace is working.
Live from Selhurst Park. Evening to you, Declan. Congratulations on the victory. Just how tough were those closing stages, though?
You know, when you're as a player on that pitch and you look up at the clock and you've got 20 minutes to go and you're down to 10 men against this young, athletic, you know, Crystal Palace side, you know it's going to be tough. But these are the places you want to come. You know, if you want to win Premier Leagues, if you want to be up there at the end of the season, these are the stadiums you've got to come to, show character, and pluck out the 3 points. And I thought we thoroughly deserved it in the end.
Was that why, though, there was the big celebration? We saw the emotion on all of your faces at the end.
Yeah, I think it was a massive relief, to be honest with you, to get through them 20 minutes. We obviously know what Selhurst Park is like. I think we controlled the game completely up until when we went down to 10 men. You know, they got hold in the game, but I think it was a faces of relief just because of the way we defended, and you know we put our bodies on the line to get the 3 points tonight.
Declan, you were absolutely outstanding that last half an hour in terms of obviously the resilience that you showed, and I'm sure that's why you were pleased at the end. Just what's the players' initial approach and take on these new rules that have coming in around time wasting? Obviously, I think Tomiyasu took one for the team in terms of 23 seconds were taken for the throw-in. Do the players like the extra time that's been added on? Do they like the idea of players being booked for this sort of time wasting or not?
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I think at the start of the season we always have referees meeting at every club, and you know they come in and explain the new rules, so you know we know what's happening. We know if we're time wasting we're going to get a yellow card. Obviously they're stamping down on it much more now. Obviously to see 7, 8, 9 minutes go up at the end of the game can be frustrating at times, but they laid down the law at the start of the season, and I suppose if we're time wasting, there's nothing we can really do about it. It's the new law of the game.
Declan, the manager mentioned at the start of the show your role changing this week. What was it, the adaptations that he told you to do tonight?
I think it was against Nottingham Forest. We played a diamond in midfield, and I was to the left of the diamond, and tonight I was the single pivot, so I dropped back kind of one spot. But in the last 4 weeks, I've learned so much. I've spoke about it. I'm learning different ways of playing the position, constantly on the move, learning how we build up, learning how we play as a team. I'm really trying to test myself, because to play for Arsenal, to play at the highest level, you need to be one of the best, and I'm eager to keep learning and keep flourishing.
Is there a particular role that you prefer out of that, in that diamond formation? Is this one that you might feel a bit more comfortable in?
No, look, I think I love going forward. I think I showed that last year with West Ham, my attacking capabilities. Even though I'd have loved to have got more goals, I really enjoyed going forward. And, I've had a conversation with the manager here as well. He sees me in that role, but also he sees me in the number 6 role. And, I'm really comfortable playing in both. And, I think that will help the team throughout the season.
Declan, you mentioned goals there, and that has probably been the one criticism that's been, put to yourself in terms of being, a top midfielder, £100 million man. We actually analysed that as well, your numbers before the game. Do you think there's a possibility that going forward with the more attacking role that can change, and is that something that you're determined to do?
Yeah, definitely. I think, even here at West Ham, the lads are always on to me to shoot more, to score more. I'm definitely trying to put that emphasis myself on scoring more goals. I had 2 great chances against Forest. I'm playing a bit more higher up the pitch as well when we're attacking, even as the 6. So balls are going to drop to me now. But I need to put them away. Like you said, there's so many people that talk about me scoring goals, because I do the other side of the stuff really well. But obviously to score goals as well is really good, and I know I've got the ability to. So that's something I'm definitely more hungry for.
You spoke before about the different roles. I mean, you've spoken as well in interviews about almost like the education you've had at Arsenal in these different roles going forward. I mean, how far, when you've been in this team now, do you think it can go? It was very close to the title last season. They've spent big money on you. You'll be seen as the man who's got to make the difference in that role. You spoke before about the different roles. I mean, you've spoken as well in interviews about almost like the education you've had at Arsenal in these different roles going forward. I mean, how far, when you've been in this team now, do you think it can go? It was very close to the title last season. They've spent big money on you. You'll be seen as the man who's got to make the difference in that role.
Yeah, look, obviously we can't get carried away. We're only 2 games. Definitely more hungry for.
You spoke before about the different roles. I mean, you've spoken as well in interviews about almost like the education you've had at Arsenal in these different roles going forward. I mean, how far, when you've been in this team now, do you think it can go? It was very close to the title last season. They've spent big money on you. You'll be seen as the man who's got to make the difference in that role.
Yeah, look, obviously we can't get carried away. We're only 2 games.
A lot.